Okay, is this focused? Okay. Okay, hey everyone. Welcome to this video. I'm William J. You could call me Will for short. Thanks for clicking this video. This is going to be a little awkward because I haven't done anything like this, and by this I mean speaking directly to camera, for I think over 9 years. Actually, this is the last time I did something like this and it went horrible. So I'm going to do my best not to be awkward, but you've been warned. So I'm going to try and make a little something new for this channel, and that's why I'm speaking right now. I thought about sharing with whoever is interested the way that I make covers, because I've been doing this for about 3 years now, almost 4 I guess, if you count the acoustic covers that I did during lockdown. I don't know. And I think it's going to be interesting to at least share with you guys my approach in terms of how I do covers and how I mix my covers and how I produce them, I guess. So with that being said, what I'm about to show you basically is the mixing side of things, and for that I'm going to use the I don't know if it's going to be the latest cover by the time I post this. Maybe it is, because I got a new cover still in the works, but it's only vocal cover, so I don't know when I'm going to publish that. Anyways, but it's from the band Conquer Divide. The song is called System Failure. It's from the latest album, Slow Burn. And the reason why I'm picking this is because I put a lot of work into it. You'll see in a second. It's vocals and guitars, but there's this might be the most complete project that I've done in terms of, you know, mixing and, you know, the effects and all the work that I've put in. But you'll be the judge of that. Anyways, this intro is way too fucking long, so I'm just go ahead and change everything so we can take a look at the project and take it from there. So yeah, let's go. Okay, so here we are with the project opened in Logic ProX. But before we go on, I would like to give a couple of points before we start. The first one is that what you're about to see is from a total amateur. I am a beginner in Logic, so if any pro or intermediate user who sees this has any constructive feedback that wants to provide, then you can feel free to leave it in the comment section. Otherwise, just keep it to yourself if you're going to be an asshole about it. But I am aware that, of course, that there's tons of features and tons of ways that you can work with Logic Pro that I've still not been able to dive into. So this is for amateurs. This is the way that I have learned to use Logic so far. So yeah, that was the first thing. And the second thing is that this song is executed at a 98% or maybe even 97% of accuracy compared to the original one, because fun fact, Conquer Divide put up a Patreon a few months ago, right? And I just joined recently, and one of the tiers that they have, or they offer, which I subscribe to, offers stems for the songs of Slow Burn. But this happened after I did this cover, right? So I'm gonna show you how I did it with Moises, an app that kind of separates tracks from the original. I'll show you in a bit. So I got I got into Patreon, I got the tier, I got the stems for System Failure, I listened to them, and then I discovered that there's, in the breakdown, I think I missed one note, the guitar, so it's not 100% correct. And then I knew that there were harmonies for the vocals, for the melodic vocals in the choruses. I just couldn't figure them out, so I didn't record them. So you'll listen to the main vocal line with an octave lower, and that's it. But then I listened to the harmonies, and they're really good, to be honest. So I didn't record those because I couldn't figure it out what Kia, who is the melodic vocalist, let's say, of the band, was doing there. I couldn't figure it out by ear, so I didn't do it. So that's a bummer. With that out of the way, let's get into this. So as you can see here, I have a few tracks. So I have the vocals, verse, double, so it's the double of the verse vocals. And then I just tried to do an independent track for the whisper. There's a whisper in the song, so I could mix it, you know, by itself. Then the chorus, the double of the chorus, and then the harmonies. It's not really harmonies, it's just like the octave lower, just to give it a little bit more body to it, because what I've said earlier, that I didn't actually do the harmonies that are there, so it felt a little bit weak. And that's why I added the octave lowers here, just to give it a little bit of body and more thickness, if you will. And then I got the vocal screams verse, which is basically anything that Janelle does, who is the bass player who provides the screams as well. So I made some tracks specifically for those parts, just to, again, different mix, different approach. So vocal screams verse, because she and Kia go back and forth in the verses. The doubles for that, and then the screams of the chorus. She also does some cool screams during the choruses. So again, and then the double. And then here's the end. So vocal scream end, just like the end part of the song. This is the breakdown basically that we'll hear, and then this is the end. Janelle does a really cool thing there, which just reminds me that I didn't quite do it exactly as she does, because I couldn't hear it very well. I thought I had it, but at the same time, my approach was because I think in the original she's layering vocals, and I didn't do that here, right? Because I just wanted to give it a more live approach, if that makes sense. The doubles for that, and then this is just like again, this is for the breakdown. This is like a reinforcement that you'll hear as well. This is more lower screams, just to again reinforce. And then here are the guitars. So the guitar one, let's say, panned R for right, and then the left one here. Don't mind this. This is a little technical hiccup that I unfortunately had, so I had to do this little trick here. And then what I thought were guitar licks, I just recorded something to give it a little bit more body at the end. This is not really in the song, apart from the main ones. Anything that is like layering of guitars, I couldn't catch it. I couldn't catch those listening to the original one. So I kind of cherry picked what I heard, and then translated it into what you're about to hear. And then this as well, again, this is the same concept that I just said. I couldn't identify exactly what they were doing, so I kind of just let my mind go a little bit and come up with this. And then, okay, so this is just stuff that it's not here because I use the same template for all the covers, and then I just kind of replace and save. So yeah. Here's a track. So we'll listen to the track first by itself, and then I'll go into how I used Moises for this, because I didn't have the stems. So let's listen to the song first by itself, and then we'll get into it. Okay, so this is the original one, and then let's hear my version, just for you to compare it a little bit, I guess.
They sold your soul away without permission. They let you think that you've got control. They come and take what they wanted from you. They'll smile and
Okay, so that's a little bit of the overview of, for you to compare the original one with my version. So how to start this? Okay, so first of all, vocal wise, the approach that I normally give, or the way that I do it basically is just obviously record it with no effects, right? Just get a clean sound just to hear yourself, if you've nailed all the notes, and just for intonation purposes, and because if you record with what you want effect wise to be there, then you maybe get lost in the effect world, if that makes sense. So it's always good to record with no effects, and then you add them later in post. So what I did here basically for the verse, if we isolate this, we solo this for a second.
They come and take what they wanted from ya.
And then there's Janelle's scream.
Sacrifice the poor to the rich man's war and burn the evidence up. Their turn to pay the piper, but they're gonna.
Okay, so this is the solo vocal with the effects and mix and all that stuff. Here are the effects that I've used. I've used Chroma Reverb. This is a classic. By the way, another disclaimer. The only third-party plugins that I use here are the guitar ones that I'm going to go over. But the rest are native to Logic, so you don't have to purchase anything if you don't want to, invest in that. This is all native to Logic that I'm going to show you. So yeah, this is a Chroma Reverb that you have here in Logic. This is one of the best, to be honest, for beginners, intermediates. It does a good job with the reverb. You have tons of presets here that you can use and then select and then just fuck around a little bit with them. Obviously, you have to have some notion of what they do in terms of the knobs. So decay is how long, obviously, the reverb sounds. The distance is a little bit more like the depth of the reverb against your voice, against the source. Then there's the mix. So obviously, if you turn this down, then you will not hear the original voice so much. And then wet means that obviously if you put this like this, then it will sound more, the reverb will sound more. So this is just a mix between the dry signal, which is your original voice with no effect, and then the effect, which is the wet, right? I have it like about, I think it was 15, because I don't want to saturate or overdo it, let's say. But you can hear the difference here if we do a little bit cycle here, which is another tool that I barely use, but I want to use a little bit more.
Sacrifice the poor to the rich man's war and burn the evidence up. Their turn to pay the piper, but they're gonna.
So this is one of the huge differences when it comes to mixing the reverb, because as you could listen, it makes a lot of difference without or with reverb. Gives this additional volume or body to it. The gain is just something that to control the actual volume of the track. This is something that I learned from my good friend Sebastian Sindon, who is a great producer, and he told me that he actually uses this one instead of this thing right here. It's basically the same function, but instead of going like this, you have it here, and I really don't know why, to be honest with you, but it's one of those things that you kind of, once you do it, you just stick with it. So yeah, this is just a gain that you can find here in Logic as well. I don't have the echo. I mean, since this is a template, or this is coming from a template, I already have my major preset effects that I normally use. But this is an echo, which is a delay, but I don't use delay here, so I have it deactivated. The channel EQ I deactivated here because I didn't want to apply, or I thought it sounded good just the way it was. And then there's this overdrive that saturates the voice, because if you listen to the original one, at least what I could listen is that there's some saturation in Kia's voice when she's singing this part.
Sacrifice the poor to the rich man's war and burn the evidence up.
You see there's a little distortion there kind of thing. So I try to mimic that by using this plugin, this overdrive. Here are the settings if you want to take a look. But again, everything is native. And for me, again, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just putting stuff in the track and then just messing around with the knobs and the drive and the tone. I'm not an expert, as I said. I don't even know what tone means here, the hertzes and the things. But again, for me, it's just about finding that sweet spot. That's maybe why I take so long to make these videos or these covers, because I just mess around. I don't know what I'm doing, so I just touch until I get what I'm looking for sonically, and that's it. So with that being said, let's go back to what we were doing. which is this one. So basically that's it in terms of the effects for this track. If we take them out of here, then you'll listen to
Sacrifice the poor to the rich man's war and burn the evidence up. They're turned to pay the piper, but they're gonna.
and this is with the effects.
Sacrifice the poor to the rich man's war and burn the evidence up. They're turned to pay the piper, but they're gonna.
The overdrive, as you can see, also has this gain element to it. So you saw that there's a difference in volume as well. But that's because of how that preset works. In order to have more saturation to the voice, then you have to play with the gain of that effect instead of just putting the gain here, right? This is pure volume, and this is the actual output of the effect, as you can see. Right. And this is a double basically. So the double has less stuff, as you can see. It still has the gain, but the gain is just 1 as opposed to the main one, which is 2. So it's slightly, just 1 dB. It does still have the overdrive, but you can see the output is different. It's -7. The other one was 1.5. So again, it's much lower. If you listen to it by itself, you'll barely hear it.
Sacrifice the poor to the rich man's war and burn the evidence up.
And it doesn't have the reverb. As you can see, it's deactivated here because, again, it saturates a little bit if both the main one and the double ones have reverb. I could have put a little bit of reverb, but way lower and, way softer. But again, it's just by ear. It felt good just to have the reverb in the main one and not here. So if you listen to this by itself,
sacrifice the poor to the rich man's war and burn the evidence up.
And then I'll add the other one half through it, okay? So let's do it again.
Sacrifice the poor to the rich man's war and burn the evidence up. They're turned to pay the piper, but they're gonna.
So you can see, you can still hear it. Obviously, it gives this extra punch to it, and especially in the mix. So this is a must, for any vocalist out there that wants to record and doesn't know a little bit, doesn't know where to start or finds this useful. One of the musts for any vocals is to double it, and then you can play with the double and see if you want to make it louder, to make it softer, just in the mix, because then you put the whole mix together, and then maybe the main vocals sound a little bit too soft or too simple, then you have the double to crank it up a little bit. With that being said, we can go to the chorus vocals here. I love the chorus of this song, by the way. It was kind of hard for me to record it because it's pretty high. So yeah, it was a little bit hard. I did a lot of takes for this one, but I think it sounds pretty cool. Okay, so let's hear by itself, just the main one, and then we'll do the exact same thing, listening to the double and seeing how adding this kind of creates this volume that I'm talking about. So if we solo it.
No, we don't feel a thing, and you're not listening. When they break you down and use your parts to sell. No, we don't feel a thing. A loss of humanity. We can't get out. It was all designed to fail.
Okay, so a couple of different things that you have probably noticed here is that this does have an echo or delay, which is here. And this is, again, native to Logic. And this, basically, I put the feedback on 65 because I still wanted it to cut through the mix, through the song, but obviously not overdo it again. The color here just it depends on if you want to if you want the delay to sound more filtered or less filtered. So that's what the color does here in this particular place. The dry, obviously, I always put it to 100% because that's how I do things. And then obviously the tempo, a quarter note. Because one thing I didn't mention is that it's very important for you to put the tempo in the project before doing anything. Because then this will determine if this is correct. And it's easier after that to just put the delay note that you want, because it will always match the tempo. And that's something I found, because back in the day I was so amateur that I didn't even put this tempo correct, and then I would freak out trying to make the delay work with the time, with the click, right? And I couldn't understand why. And then, after a couple of years, I learned that, you have to put this first. So yeah, this is basically this. The rest of the plugins are pretty much the same. Maybe the chroma reverb is a little bit different here. Maybe, as you can see, I turned it up from 15 in the verse to 25. I wanted a little bit more volume there. Increased a little bit the decay, the distance a little bit, just to give it, again, a little bit more of a bigger reverb if you want, right? But then that's it, Gain is still there. Gain is 12. And then, as you can see, the doubles here, it doesn't have an echo and it doesn't have a chroma reverb. Again, not to avoid saturating the whole thing or making it crazy, I just left it without the effects.
No, we don't feel a thing, and you're not listening. When they break you down and use your parts to sell.
And the both together will sound like this.
No, we don't feel a thing, and you're not listening. When they break you down and use your parts to sell. No, we don't feel a thing, a loss of humanity.
Again, the doubles are there just to punch through a little bit more and give it a bit more volume. And then the harmonies, which are not really harmonies, is just an octave lower. I'm not going to waste a lot of time in this. They do have a little bit of reverb here, but less decay. Distance goes back to 65. 15 wet, nothing major here. Just a little bit just to give that, again, volume. And it's panned. These two are panned 40-40, as you can see, just to spread up a little bit more the chorus in the mix, right? So put them all together, then it will sound something like this.
No, we don't feel a thing, and you're not listening. When they break you down
and once we put the whole thing together, it sounds like this.
No, we don't feel a thing, and you're not listening. When they break you down and use your voice to sell. No, we don't feel a thing, a loss of humanity. Oh, we can't get out, it was all inside to fail.
So the octaves are most likely used to, you'll notice them more if you're wearing headphones, of course, right? And not through speakers or anything like that. If you have good speakers at home or monitors, stuff like that, then obviously you will appreciate them. If not, you will barely hear them. Maybe there's something around there that, your subconscious is going like, oh, it sounds a little bit fuller, but it's more thought for headphones. And then that's it, basically. So if we go a little bit more to here, this is the ending, basically. Again, I love the ending. I love especially the lyrics there and the melodies, but the lyrics actually hit the feelings. But yeah, it's the same approach here. As you can see, it's the same track, so same effects, and it's just, the same approach in mix wise.
They say don't fear the reaper till you poison your own well. They lost all their connection. Maybe they'll find it in hell. They say don't fear the reaper till you poison your own way. They lost all their connection. Maybe they'll find it in
All right, so those were the cleans, I guess. Maybe we can slightly or quickly go through the automations. So for those who don't know what automations are, so basically if you want midway for something else to happen, effect-wise or volume-wise or whatever, there's something called automations in Logic that basically lets you do that. So you hit A on the keyboard and then you see some extra stuff here. So something that maybe is interesting here in the chorus is that I did a little automation with the I did something here with the echo, which is the delay. Delay goes all the way here, and then as you can see, the wet starts at 15 and then it drops to 0 because I didn't want the echo or the delay of this particular of the clean vocals to carry on, because the screams are the ones who go a little bit further. So I wanted to give the screaming at the end, to be more in your face. So this is what the automation does basically. So just listening to it from here, then you can appreciate what I'm talking about.
a loss of humanity. We can't get out. It was all designed to fail.
So the reverb's still there, but as you can see, the delay disappears. And this is basically an automation. I did a couple automations here and there as well. I'm not going to go really into those because maybe that's a little bit more technical if you're a beginner. But basically, that's the concept, right? Automation's pretty cool and pretty, at the same time, pretty time-consuming if there's a lot of things that you want to do. Something that I didn't go through before is the whispers. The whispers here are basically this part right here.
Silence is betrayal. Your silence is betrayal.
So why did I want to put them by themselves? Because as you can see here, I was having a hard time getting that exact tone or overdrive that I couldn't just get with this plugin for some reason. So I added one extra, which is this one right here, which is the distortion 2, again native in Logic, and this is the setup. Again, maybe with a little bit more knowledge I would have gotten what I've wanted with just one, but actually I had to add the distortion 2 here with this setup, and then I had to add the auto filter, which is another plugin native here in Logic, just to get that the tone that I wanted. And this has way more parameters. You can see it has a distortion section, a filter section, the envelope, but it's super low because I really didn't want an envelope effect. So yeah, that's why I took it by itself and put it in other tracks. And there's nothing wrong in doing that, to be honest. I mean, obviously you'll end up with 1,000 tracks, but then you will have a lot of more freedom to work on those tracks, right? Instead of doing automations and adding, because if I would have put those as part of, I don't know, vocals verse track, then I would have had to add all these to this track and then automate when I want them to be activated, how much, blah, 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 right? So that's something that maybe you keep it in mind. The more tracks, the better, but at the same time, the project will be bigger, but it will give you a lot of freedom in working with specific tracks or specific parts of the song, right? So yeah, distortion, chroma, auto filter, and overdrive just to achieve this specific tone.
Your silence is betrayal. Your silence is betrayal.
And then obviously the double that I have here. It just has the gain, as you can see. I left it with nothing.
Your silence is betrayal.
It's just gain at 8, and that's it. All the heavy stuff is in the main one. as you can see. So this translates into this.
Your silence is betrayal. Your silence is betrayal.
Okay, so I think we can move on to the screams. The screams are pretty fun as well. One thing that I have to address as well is that I wasn't sure if whether who is doing what in the verses. So maybe I fucked up and it's Kia doing the whole thing. But for some reason I thought Janelle was doing this part, and I think she's not. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I interpreted it, and that's why it's part of the scream world, or the scream section of the song. But it's basically this.
They sold your soul away without permission. They let you think that you've got control.
And as you can see, there's a big reverb here. As well, the decay is much longer. It's 8 seconds, but the mix is still the same. I just wanted to give it, because it's pretty direct. This part is pretty direct in the song, so I wanted to give it a lot of body to it.
They sold your soul away without permission. They let you think that you've got control. They come and take what they...
Okay, so basically this has a chroma reverb as well as the gain. It's at 9, and then this does have a channel EQ that I thought would work well with this part, right? So again, the channel EQ is something that it's native here. You can just activate it, and then again, a lot of presets here. I just got this one, and then I started messing around with the parameters here. Again, I'm no expert. I don't know what I'm doing in here. I don't know what the hertz means. One of the cool things about these presets is that it gives you a visual indicator of where the frequencies are higher or lower. In this case, in my voice. So let me show you what I'm talking about.
They sold your soul away without permission.
You see these lines here? These are the lines that show you, frequencies. And I have a very specific tone when it comes to the middle section here. So that's where, especially here at this range right here, then I kind of lower it a little bit, because if not, it becomes too intense for the ear, or for the mix as well. But yeah, this is basically what I did.
They sold your soul away without permission. They let you think that you've got control. No smile and get on with the show.
But it makes a huge difference, to be honest. If we put it back to the cycle.
They sold your soul away without permission. They let you think that you've got control.
It's like I took a little bit of the frequencies of the lower frequencies, and I took them a little bit down. I cut through them a little bit. Again, what I told you before. I just put stuff, mess around, see what is good to the ear, what you hear is good to the mix, and then just proceed. Again, and as you can see, the screams are part of this section because I thought that Jenna was doing them, and then that's what I use for the screams as well. There's an overdrive here, just a little bit for that gritty sound that you just heard. So
by the charge.
So it's basically a distortion. If I take it off, then you'll hear the difference.
By the charge.
It's still there. It's still a scream, but obviously, if you punch an overdrive there, or any sort of effect that gives it a little bit more of edge, then obviously it's going to stick out in the mix a little bit better.
By the charge.
The doubles are the same. It does have the same channel EQ. It does have distortion instead of overdrive, because the approach is a little bit different. It has the reverb as well. So it sounds something like this.
By the charge.
It's less mixed in terms of a lot of reverb or whatever. The reverb is pretty much non-existent here. It's just a 3-second decay with a 10% wet is basically nothing compared to the other one. But again, it just gives it a little bit of another color to it. And then when you mix both of them, for me, it compensates. They compensate each other pretty well.
Play the charge!
It just sounds cool to me. Same here.
The truth becomes another headline revision. They want you all to see and believe.
The doubles are a little bit more into the mix, a little higher in the mix because of the original. Again, it's just going back and forth. So here's a -4 and then, a 9. But they stick pretty well because of this has an overdrive, this has a distortion, so they compensate each other a little bit better. But yeah, it's the same approach.
The truth becomes another headline revision. They want you all to see and believe. Just another player!
And then we have the vocal screams here in the chorus, which is this part right here. Okay, so here is the same thing. Basically, it has distortion, the reverb. The reverb is a little higher. The decay is much higher than the other track, than the other sections of the track. It's 11, just to give it a little bit more body to it. But it's basically the same approach as the verses.
How can you buy the lies they tell?
And the double has everything except the channel EQ, because for this part, again, I didn't feel like copying the same mix or channel EQ for this particular part. So I left it without one, and it sounds like something like this.
How can you buy the lies they tell?
It has a little bit of reverb, but way lower. As you can see, the decay is 180 and the wet is 10%, so it's barely nothing. But again, it's just little subtle things that enrich a little bit the overall sound.
How can you buy the lies they tell? How can you buy the lies they tell? It was all designed to fail.
And this is the same section here, and then this is the breakdown I was talking about, which has a little bit more of layers to it. The reason why is because, well, first of all, is that's what I heard in the original song, that it has more layers to it. And then, so what I did basically is do the same here for the, pretty much the same as the chorus, apply it here. For the doubles as well, there's no echo, but then I did these two and penned them 40-40, just to give that. It doesn't have reverb, as you can see, doesn't have echo, but it just has distortion and gain, just to give it a little bit more volume, as I said.
System failure. System failure.
So what that does is basically open up a little bit more this section right here, but at the same time reinforcing that part, right? So
System failure. System failure.
So you can see the difference.
System failure. System failure.
And obviously the delay in the main one is all over the place because it gives that sense of greatness, because this part is super fucking dope.
System failure. System failure.
another thing that I had to do here is basically modify the especially the echo, as you can see here, and the reverb. I had to do some automations here because of those cuts that you hear. So obviously you have to automate those things in order for those cuts to be that sharp, right? Or that precise, or sound that precise, right? And that's it. And then we go to the final part, which is this part right here at the end, which is what I said before, that I think Janelle is layering the phrases that she's saying here, that she's screaming. I didn't do that. I did it all in a more live approach.
Maybe you'll finally say when your time is up. If you look hard enough, don't alone again. Maybe you'll finally.
So this one, I remember now that it was a little bit of a challenge to mix, because obviously there's the melody and then there's this screaming part. I kept hearing the original, and I didn't want to fuck this up in terms of leveling the both vocals. So yeah, I remember spending a little bit more time here. And at the end, what I do here is, again, through an automation, is that I increase the volume at the end of the scream just to give it a little bit more presence. So it goes something a little bit like this. Because I found out if I left it at 4.6, I think it is, through the whole thing, it lost power at the end. So as you can see, I dragged it from -4.6 to +0.4, just to end the song on a great note. So that would be the vocals. I'm gonna go really quick with the guitars, and please don't think that I am, taking away the importance or the complexity of the guitars. But for me, it's straightforward. Again, I don't consider myself a guitar player at all. I just know how to play guitar. And this is all by ear, and I keep it pretty simple in terms of, effects or whatever. I'm using the Archetype plugins here. For the right guitar, I used the Gojira one. This is from Neural DSP, of course. And then for the left one, the left side, I'm using the Petrucci one. A little mix here and there, just to keep it interesting. The guitar for the right one sounds something like this by itself. And then, the left one, which is the Petrucci plugin, sounds something like this for you to compare. And then you'll be able to, notice the difference and the color that both of them provide. Panned 40/40. So this one's a little darker, and the other one's a little bit brighter. So a little nice mix between the two of them. And then it goes through the rest of the song like this. Like I said, I did it all by ear, so maybe I obviously missed there's a note here that I missed, and then the layers of guitars that they do are excellent. I heard them afterwards with the stems. I was pretty pissed off that I didn't have them because they do really good stuff, and I wanted to recreate those. But what I did basically here is that in the chorus, this is what sounded in my head. So here, basically what I'm using is the Petrucci one still. And then I'm just adding, I added a little bit of reverb here. Well, a lot of reverb just to get that sound. 13 seconds decay with a 40% wet. One thing that I forgot to mention is that in all the guitars and the layers or the licks or whatever you want to call it, there's a channel EQ here just to clean up a little bit some of the frequencies that might get a little bit eerie or a little bit over the top, you know, in the mix. Again, this is all by ear. As I told you, you know, there's a visualizer here when you're playing, so you can actually quickly identify where are the, you know, those peaks in the frequencies. So in this case of the right guitar, there was a peak here. So there was here, for example, I had to lower this down because there was a peak that was kind of over the top at this range here. So I just had to specifically go there and tone it down. This is slightly different. There were some peaks here that, you know, again, were messing up with the overall sound. So I had to tackle those, again, all by ear or all by, you know, how it sounds and how it feels. But it's basically straightforward here. It goes back into this part. And then what I added here was basically another thing that was in my head, and it's basically this. And this is basically what you'll see me playing in the video when I start screaming, because, you know, for me it's easier to scream and just do this all the time, right? If I had to do it live. And then last, again, this is something that I heard in my head when I was listening to the original one. I don't think it exists in the original song, or maybe something like that exists in the original song. I wasn't able to identify that in the stems yet, but it goes something like this. Again, this one is pretty dry. It's using the Petrucci one as well, but there's nothing in terms of echoes or reverbs or anything like that. It's pretty low in the mix anyways, because like I said, I wasn't even sure this existed as I play it in the song. It sounded good to me in my head, and then I played it, and then I just added it as a very small detail. The gain is super low. It's -6, and it's slightly panned to the right at 10. So it's basically a very small detail that you will barely hear if you're not with headphones, right? Okay, so with that being said, quick rundown through how I managed to do all this with the Moises app. So the Moises app basically is an app. It's free if you want. You can pay like an upgrade version, but it's free, right? And what it does basically, it takes a song, you upload the song, right? And then it does some magic stuff in the system, and then asks you, how do you want to separate the tracks, right? Do you want just vocals, instrumental, and then vocals, instrumental, and ambience, or whatever? It has like different choices. I always choose the 5 instrument separation, which is vocals, guitars, bass, drums, and then others, which is maybe ambience or whatever. So that's how I separate the tracks in Moises. And once I do that, then obviously the interface provides you with something similar to what you're looking at right now, to like a DAW in that app. It has a mobile app and it has a desktop app. I use a desktop one for this, and it has the same interface like this DAW right here, this Logic. It has tracks, and then you can play around with the volumes. If you want to take something out, then you can mute it. And then for the export, you can export the mix that you have done, or you can export individual tracks. like in a whole package, but it will present itself as individual tracks, right? It's pretty neat. It's not perfect, obviously, because the technology it's still being developed, but it has come a long way since I started using Moises. I've been using Moises now for over 2 years, I think, and it's gone way better. So as you can see here, I have the bass, the others, which is ambience or whatever the app could identify as others, and then there's the track, which is the track pre-final, which is basically the drums and a little bit of something. Let me hear it because I don't even remember right now. So it's basically the drums. There's a little bit of bass there as well, just to reinforce it, but then I decided to take the bass as well by itself and put it in another track. So again, it doesn't sound awesome or like a stem. Obviously, it will never sound like a stem because that's what stems are for. But it does a pretty neat job. For example, in the drums, I mean, you can't deny it's done a pretty good job. And a lot of people use the Moises app even more and more. Even the Drumeo guys use Moises app to isolate drum tracks and do the thing. So it's pretty good, to be honest. If you were looking for something like that, or were wondering how the people that do covers, the musicians do covers, achieve that, Moises. I'll leave a link in the description down below. So that's basically it. So I took it and then I mixed it up a little bit just to, in terms of leveling and where the drums have to sit. I took a little bit of, I did a little thingy here and there, where I took the beginning of the track, which is this. And here, I use the exact same original part for the intro, just to make it sound good, and then the ending as well, which what I use in the cover is this original ending from the track. But rather than that, it's just that, it's just putting the drums in one, the drums are, the mixed track that you export from Moises here. And then what I did, I had the vocals separated here because I wanted to hear something specifically, but I don't need this. The guitars, what I did basically is I took the squeals. I don't know if it has a technical name. Gojira does it a lot, which is this basically. That, I use those to reinforce my own, right? Because again, I'm not proficient in guitar, so what I did basically is I took the original ones and I kind of mixed that part with mine, just to give it a little bit of edge to it, a little bit more volume as well. And then I used this part because for some reason Moises decided that this part was guitar and not ambience or others. So I had to use this as the original sound, right? The bass, as I said, and then the others, which is whatever Moises decides that it's other. The effects. And this is one of the things that I really wish I had the stems available, because all the ambience and all the effects and all the crazy sounds that they have in the original song, they have it separated in the stems, so it would have shined way more in this cover. But you have to work with what you have. So I guess that's it. I know this might have been a really fucking long ass video. I am tired as fuck from talking, but I hope that you like what you've seen and what I have talked about, what I've showed you. I hope it helps you at some way if you're like me, an amateur, or just doing this for fun and don't want to waste a lot of time or money or whatever. One thing that maybe, I didn't mention, but it's just part of the layout. Maybe this is more Logic Pro related stuff. I have here the same layout as here, but in vertical. And this is something that, a lot of people use to, instead of going up and down, you just go left and right, basically, and you still have all the effects here as you have them individually by track here, but then here you have them all at your disposal. Let's say, right? So it's easier for you to access X, Y, and Z from here. But again, maybe this is a tutorial of how to use Logic Pro as a noob. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know. I've showed you a little bit of how I use Logic Pro as a noob. But yeah, again, hopefully you have liked what you've seen. Hopefully it helps you in any way. If not, then, well, I guess I'll shut up and go back to just doing covers. But if you liked it, let me know. Let me know if you would like to see more of this or any other type of content. I'm thinking about doing something like this, but in terms of how I approach the recording of the cover. So the preparation, how I learned the song and then how I record it. I don't know. I thought about that just to diverse a little bit. If you feel that's interesting, let me know. If not, then again, I'll just, go back to doing what I've been doing for 3 years. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and all those things that, YouTubers say. Again, I'm terrible at this. I'm sorry. Thank you, and take care. We'll see you soon.